Robert, how are you?
What's up, guys? I'm sorry I'm late, boys. I apologize.
All good.
All good. Well, thanks both of you for making time. I appreciate it and for being our first experiment.
No, it's gonna be awesome. Dave, do you have a beer or a cocktail while we're doing this thing, or is
Please do.
Yeah, I already did 2 shots and macked on some huge edibles, so that should be kicking in.
all right, I'm gonna order one up. I didn't want to be an ass.
uh, awesome. So I was telling Dave, you guys are both doing really interesting things with labor. So if you can make that part of the conversation. But other than that, just you're both doing interesting things in different places, and just want you to shoot the shit. And then the experiment is that it's two guys talking without facilitation and not like an interview. So I'm just gonna drop off. I'll still be here, but I'll mute myself and stop my video so I won't appear.
I'm fired up about this. Dave,
Yeah.
I've heard a ton about you, man. Like all obviously good shit, but a lot of people I really know and love and respect are all over you.
Oh, nice.
All over Dave.
Crazy.
I'll let you guys do that as part of this. So I'm gonna hop off now, and then like I said, just give a shout if you want me for anything. But other than that, it's your guys' conversation.
Okay. Later. Robert, I got a bunch of questions. We have these inherent risks that we take when we open a business. We're serving booze. We're in an industry where there's a lot of alcohol, a lot of drugs. How much does that play into your world? New Orleans certainly is a crowd that rolls as hard as any restaurant community. How do you deal with that, man? How do you?
What I realized, we had a hardcore drinking culture. We don't have a big drug culture. I'm not naive to say it doesn't exist, but we don't have a lot of that, and we didn't have a lot of drinking culture in terms of people, staying late night at the spots and getting drunk. But they'd all roll out together and drink, and that introduces all kinds of problems. That was a physical assault issue, but you can't imagine how many sexual assault issues have probably arisen as a result of one person having 2 beers, one person having 8 beers, and the person with 2 beers hooking up with the person with 8 beers. Like that's an issue, and we had a real blind spot around that. And we also had a real blind spot around microaggressions. Everybody treated people well in the big context. There was no sexual harassment. We didn't tell, dirty jokes. We didn't do that stuff, but we didn't stamp out microaggressions, situations where you couldn't approach a chef or you couldn't approach a bartender because they'd be stern and quip and they weren't engaging and they wouldn't listen and things like that. And so we went and we sort of scrubbed everything, man. And like we did treat people well, but we weren't thorough enough in terms of, so we backed down on the drinking a bit. We don't promote it or celebrate it as much as we used to. If people want to be responsible and have drinks, that's cool. If people want to hang out, but everybody's got to understand the risks and the responsibility and the expectations. We have a zero tolerance policy for anything related to sexual harassment, assault, physical harassment, physical assault. And we've been really explicit about that. And we don't allow any microaggressions. And that's a one strike rule too. That used to be something we talk about, but it would be more of a suggestion. Come on, man, you can't talk to people that way. But it was more of a, we hope you get that to come around. We weren't black and white about it. And now we're black and white about it. And that's what we've had to learn. We just, unfortunately, you just can't afford to, because the lines get really blurry, man, as you know.
Yeah.
We're all together 80 hours a week. We're family, we're friends, we're best friends. We hate each other, drinking buddies, relationships come out of it. So it's gnarly, man, but we got to, the other thing we've learned to do is we more proactively promote the vision, the values in the company. We talk before every meeting, we talk about what the vision of the company is. LeBlanc Smith creates excellent 21st century Southern hospitality experiences that enable all people to live joyful, balanced, fulfilling lives and to develop great hospitality leaders. And we talk about our 5 values. Number 1, I see you, I love you. Number 2, be inspiring. Number 3, do cool shit and stay humble. Number 4, teach why. And number 5, create joy. And we really, really actively talk about that. And we do it. It was recorded and people knew about it a little bit, but we never threw it in people's faces before. And now we do that. And that helps us with a lot of those issues, kind of proactively staves off some of that.
So you mentioned diversity. Do you have a diversity council in place now?
We don't. We don't. It's something I'm kind of championing by myself right now. We don't have a big team at LeBlanc Smith. Admittedly, we're a little understaffed. But we have a lot of really good resources here in New Orleans. We have Minnow, which is the Made in New Orleans Foundation. It's run by Lauren Darnell. We're working with a company called Talent Activated that's helping us to recruit specifically Black people here in New Orleans. We feel like so it's a long way of saying no. We don't have a diversity council formally, but informally we have a lot of relationships. We're doing a lot of diversity and equity and inclusion training. We're taking seminars and things like that, and we're actively trying to get.
We're just starting that process ourselves to get a DEI council, and the problem we run into is it's 10 white people sitting around talking about diversity.
Yeah.
Whereas Lily White in Boulder is a fucking guest, and it's challenging. So then you reach out and you're specifically asking the few random African American people we might have on the staff, hey, will you be a part of this council? And that feels a little bit contrived. And so it's challenging. So we're reaching outside the group to figure out the best practices and the means to get a real solid perspective. I'm not going to sit here and say, as someone who's pushing this to get this council on board, I don't know what the fuck it's like to be a Black person in Boulder,
Yeah.
or a Latino person in Boulder, but we've got enough resources to figure that out. It's important. And I love your mantra and your mission statement and your 5 values that they're clearly embedded and ingrained in your brain. It's awesome to hear. That sounded on the first scrub of listening to what you said, killer and well thought out, probably long process to get to those fewer words that you had, but that's awesome. But that DEI council, I think for all of us is the next step, because
and look, online
matter is easy, but that's just bullshit. That's what stops.
If there's anything I can do to help with that, online or offline, I mean, I think one place where we're fortunate in New Orleans, we're 60% Black here in New Orleans. So we have an abundance of resources. And, there's a couple of things I think why it really matters to us here in New Orleans. New Orleans still struggles. It's a great magical city. It's a city, but also being down here on a day-to-day basis, there's not a lot of racial strife and tension, but there's certainly a lot of racism. And so, we've always had this problem in hospitality where we feel like we can't get enough talented people, but there's a workforce of about 60% of our population that's not really being actively recruited, developed. We're not really orienting our programming at all to sort of reflect what would make them feel more comfortable at home. But if we can turn that tide here in New Orleans, you get a better prospective workforce, but you also, you start developing these hospitality leaders in the Black community, and then they go back and they can be leaders at hospitality spots that are essential to the fabric of their communities as well. And then they can start learning some skills around starting other or leading other organizations. And look, that might be a baseball team that they volunteer to coach. It could be a classroom. It doesn't have to be a restaurant or a bar or a hospitality business. It could be anything. But that's how we think if we approach it that way. And there's a lot of people moving in that direction together here in New Orleans. And as you know, you're part of that extended family. So if there's anything that we can do to include you on invites, or if there's any conversations, and a lot of these people that are leading our programming are pretty close friends of mine too. So you could have an open, honest, and raw conversation with them really comfortably, pretty quickly.
I'm going to take you up on that.